Hey, True Believers England Teen here, and I've got a couple of things to talk about. One, I might do a little video thing. I was wondering if any of the guys were coming in. It's Monday, but I did leave a link, so if they want to jump in, that's fine. But I thought a nice, fun thing to start tonight off with is a top 10 list I found, and that is it was basically 10 problematic covers. And anytime I hear this kind of thing, oh, this is so problematic. Oh, they would never make this today. All I could think of is probably some mewling little Gen Zer who finds everything. I mean, for freaking hell, in the last few years, milk was freaking problematic because it was white. PB&J is problematic because it's racist. It's racist for white people to eat it because black people like to eat it. Everybody loves peanut butter. But anyway, I digress. I saw this and I thought, okay, you know what? I stopped dead. Obviously, I know one because it's on the thumbnail. I thought it might be fun to go through this, and then I'm going to invite a couple people on, see if they want to join in. But this is what they call 15 covers that aged poorly. That's what they call it. So there we go. Let me get this matched up so I could read comments as well as the list. Hello to Dave. What's up? Yeah, we did a Punisher live stream earlier today. I highly recommend it. We were talking about the fact that we need street level vigilantes. We could talk a little bit more. But okay, I thought this might be fun. So they go on. Let's check these covers out and see if they. Okay, so first one up is Captain America number 13. Obviously, we can see why. You got the Japanese caricature with. Let's see, does this pop up? Yeah, you got the Japanese caricature, Captain America knocking them out. You started it. Now, well, we'll finish it. Obviously, this is the propaganda covers that Captain America would have. Now, do you find it problematic by today's standards? I'm a different kind of cat because I see it as, well, this was historical. This was something that happened and they did attack us. I'd rather have this than what happened when 9/11. Hey, Zach, jump on, man. I need somebody to bounce off of. I prefer this than what happened in 9/11. As soon as the towers fell, all you heard is Islam is awesome. Don't go bad mouthing Islam. It's wonderful. Blah 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 blah. And nobody was talking about the people. They were talking about the idea behind it, behind what caused it. I would rather have this kind of thing. What they're saying is Captain. Let's see. The cover was very on brand for the character, given his role as the pinnacle of American patriotism. Interestingly, Cap was. What American conservatives later called a premature anti-fascist, entering World War II months before the country did. After Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, no surprise, Cap turned his attention to his newest foe in Cap America Comics number 13. Unfortunately, Alavision, who drew the cover for the issue, treated the Japanese people on the cover very differently than the Germans, relying on racist caricatures and giving them inhuman features like long fangs. So there you go. Do you think it's, oh, did I not show the cover? I'm not sharing. I am not. How am I not sharing? I thought I was, did I? Okay. I got the wrong one here. Okay. Hold on. I'm fixing the problem. Thank you for pointing it out. Okay. Let's see. Am I sharing now? Alrighty, am I sharing this now? This is why partners help, because they point that out. I had two of these pulled up. One of them was, and one of them was not sharing. Here we go. Alrighty, but there you go. That's the cover. Do you guys still see this as? I don't see it as problematic because I see it in a historical lot and so forth. So there we go. Sorry about that, guys. Now we're cooking with fire. Incredible Hulk number 355. You've got the Hulk with a rainbow around them. Earlier today, I said, when did we give up the rainbow? When was it? When did that become not just a rainbow? And all of us accept it as more than just a freaking rainbow. Hello to Dalton. What's up? And we have Zach by popular demand.
What's up? How's it going, everyone? Oh, I see.
Doing
There's no
well.
demand for me. I guess I should just go. Lol.
No, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Actually, I was going to do this for a little bit, and then there's a gentleman. Name seems familiar. Actually, I'll go ahead and invite him, see if he wants to come on. A guy reached out saying he wanted to be on his called the Dominator. I remember, but I don't remember. You know, and sometimes I'm a little bit hesitant because I don't want to let in any of the freaking war campaign or anything by accident.
Yeah, you don't want to get raided by any assorted number of weirdos that might.
But you know what? I believe in giving somebody the benefit. So let's see if this gentleman wants to come on. Here you go. And we'll continue to talk about these covers. Plus, I don't know if I'm going to do the video or if I should do it as a solo thing, but there's this guy keeps popping up in my feed called Actual Fandom, went after the black pills. And I thought this might be an interesting video because you guys know I've said a few things about the Gary and the Black Pills, still the best 50s rock group band name ever. But I was wondering, okay, would there be intersection and such?
So are we doing a response video then, basically, after this?
Something like that. Y'all mind real quick? I forgot to get water. You mind? I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody.
So what do we have going on?
Looks like one of those CBR listicles that they love to do. From
I just need to go around.
Dave,
the corner
we don't need to hear about what you did behind the bike shed. We all pick up what you're laying down, but no, please.
Yeah. Okay, what are we looking at? Just check Genesis 9:13 from the KJV Bible. In my opinion, that is what the rainbow originally represents, says Eric and Boyd. Eric, I have read the Bible a couple of times, but I was a teenager. I'm not one of those people who can pop out a proverb or anything. My father did say if we were ever considering joining religion, all he asks, because he lost his faith in the war, was that we read the books. So I did. I like the Bible, but I got to admit that when I went to Thailand, I really felt more towards just the Buddhism. I never felt so much at peace as when I learned how to meditate. Although I haven't been doing that very much, which may be why I'm so freaking on edge all the time. All right, let's continue this little go through here. So let me tell you, or let me ask you something, Zach, since you popped on, you were in the chat. Did you find the Japanese cover all that, as they say, problematic?
No, it's a product of its time. I mean, certainly I don't think that anyone today would do a comic book cover like that. You got to remember, Captain America was pretty much like World War II pro-ally propaganda.
As Stan said, we were fighting Hitler before our government was fighting Hitler.
Exactly.
Yeah, they actually mentioned that.
Exactly. I mean, propaganda, I'm not saying that it's right on either side, but I mean, both sides what's the word? Distorted appearances of the enemies, you know?
Yeah.
Hitler and the Germans, of course, made the Jewish all disfigured. That's where you see like the big noses and everything come from.
Mm-hmm.
And then our side, we did the same thing to them and to the Japanese. So
I'm going to say something kind of controversial here.
Uh-oh.
For as bad and as they wouldn't get away with it as that kind of propaganda is now, if you actually go back and look at some of it, look at some of the Golden Age like propaganda pieces, there's a level at which it's not exactly mean-spirited. Like a lot of times you'd see characters that would be there specifically to point out, oh, by the way, guys, this isn't literally everyone in this country. This is just the bad people in this country. Like there were many cases where Cap would be fighting the Nazis, and some random German guy would show up and go, you know, I really hate that my country has fallen for this bullcrap, and so on and so forth. And like they always made a point to make the different, or I should say always, they often made the point to differentiate between the activists and the terrorists and the people who were actively immoral and the people of the other ethnicity who were just people. So
Okay,
there's a level at which it wasn't entirely mean-spirited. Something which I think modern propaganda is sorely missing, because of course, if you believe something outside of the Overton window, you are the devil. To the point that Jordan Peterson is now Red Skull. Cough, cough.
right. Okay, so first of all, hello to the Black Knight. What's up?
Oh, I'm doing good. How are you?
Very, very nice. You have been on this channel before, haven't you?
Yeah, I showed up during that whole JDA bounding in the comics drama.
Yeah, okay. So I was like, Dominator doesn't. I'm not. And then when you popped up as Black Knight, I went, okay.
Yeah,
So,
sorry, my Twitter account is different from my YouTube.
No worries. As I was saying, I don't know if you heard. I was like, I was one of the original members of Comicsgate, and because I had spoken out against the Comicsgate hierarchy, I got a whole bunch of people piling on, which I have recently pulled up a few topics that are very old school Comicsgatey. I was thinking, oh gosh, I hope he's not one of the freaking war campaigners, but come on in, man. But okay, now I know you're a Black Knight. Cool. All right, what's up?
Yeah, no, I'm not really involved in Comicsgate too much anymore. I just follow a couple of channels.
I mean, obviously, I do believe in the struggle, but yeah. Anywho, let's continue. Let's go on to this Incredible Hulk cover here. This is 355. It says, what to say? In issue 355, it sees the Glorian rope Hulk into a fantasy where he gets everything he wants: food, beautiful women, the admiration of his fellow Avengers. The cover shows Glorian enchanted the Jade Giant with a rainbow ray telling him, "Don't struggle, Hulk. I just want to give you your wildest dreams." Looking back to the Incredible Hulk 355, it's easy to spot the non-consensual tones of this dialogue. Readers can't help.
Wait a minute. Isn't this character a villain? Is this one of those we're complaining because villains do villainous things?
Yeah,
I like it. Almost.
Yeah.
Also, who's gonna do something without the Hulk's consent?
I know, right? But
also, can the Hulk even usually consent when he's in standard Hulk mode? Because he's not particularly intelligent. There's no can of worms I don't think you want to open, guys.
At least they are considerate guys now and stuff. It's not just girls.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely the what is it, the dark silver lining of the dark cloud. But here's something I think this speaks more to the author, which who is the author of this one? Thayer Priest Parker. I think that speaks to Thayer Priest Parker. That he says a rainbow wrapped around the Hulk and thinks rape. Oh, I'm sorry, grape. Okay. That speaks more to them. I never looked at this and went, wow, that dude's about to rape the Hulk. Never. Not once.
When did this issue come out anyway?
This was in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Well, see, I feel like the rainbow as a symbol didn't really take off until the 2010s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also more to the point, and maybe it says so in the text, and I'm just not paying attention. But I don't think the author is thinking it's explicitly sexual. I think this is one of the people who thinks consent is important at all times and in all circumstances.
Sure.
Either way, it's a little bit funny still because it's a villain doing villainous things.
The Flash gave all sorts of content to be placed on a giant-sized arrow to be blasted out into space. All freaking covers have a hero in some sort of non-consensual I'm about to die scenario. Let's move on. She-Hulk number 40. Okay, there is something to this one. First of all, cover, though. Go on ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying I love this cover. This did not age poorly, by the way. Have you tried looking up this cover on eBay? This did not age poorly. This thing is worth my right hand.
I know but here's what they say about this. She-Hulk is arguably one of the strongest characters in Marvel Comics. However, fans can't see any of that strength on the cover for Sensational She-Hulk 40 because it was a comedy book. It wasn't necessarily a superhero book. Let's go. It says here She-Hulk cowers and tries to stretch out her title's comic code authority to cover her naked body. She is clearly uncomfortable with her nudity, and the caption, "Because you demanded it," further implies lack of consent on her part. Burns' hand comes in from off stage, handing her props and telling her to stop stalling, which only makes this cover that much creepier. Okay.
Okay,
now, also, if I remember correctly, this was the end of some sort of deal or some sort of bet where she would have to jump rope.
I was going to say, wasn't it in an earlier issue? She was like, if this doesn't sell, I'll jump rope naked in the next one. Didn't she say that in a previous
something
issue?
along those lines?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
There's that. But more to the actual point of this person is inserting propaganda or inserting problematicness where it isn't. Sexuality is a power, you morons. And this is something I say to all the people who see women being sexy and go, oh, they're being objectified. Oh, I'm a male gaze. Oh, this or that or the other. Sexuality is a power. That's why the Black Widow works worked when she was still a spy as a character, because we all understand the notion of the honey trap, because one of women's fundamental powers, more so than men in some circumstances, is their sexuality. They can use it to manipulate people or simply just to show off like She-Hulk does. Sexuality is a power, and I really wish we would stop seeing sexuality as some kind of vulnerability.
Well, even then, I was just going through some of Jeff John's JSA stuff the other day, and Power Girl has this whole thing where she's talking to some of the other female members of the team, because they're like, well, how do you walk around with that big O on your chest and everything? And Power Girl's like, there are guys that other male superheroes get to walk around half naked. Why can't I? So it's like almost like an equality thing too. Because like even in Marvel, you got Hercules runs around in a loincloth most of the time, and Hulk's ripping out of his pants. So
yeah,
the
randomly indestructible pants joke comes to mind.
Right here, though, you do have her being made to do something, and she's like, okay, let's just get it over with and such. And I think that's where they're coming from. I think get a freaking sense of humor, whatever sense of humor this society has lost. And today I am straight up on a Gen Z sucks kind of tirade, because earlier today when we did the Punisher video, once again, if you missed it, you missed out on a great conversation between me, Eric, and Captain Frugal about not just about the loss of the vigilante, but about how that kind of entertainment is cathartic. I think that I brought it up that this new generation has brought back racism, and it's horrible. Here, part of this is, once again, this is a situation where the author is telling more about himself, that he sees her as weak, and this is not just a comedy segment.
It's because they can't ever put their morality down for 5 minutes. They can't ever see anything outside of their moral framework.
They can't. It causes their brains to short circuit. Yeah. It's like they can't look at something.
Well, I think also, well, I think also in today's society and stuff is like, people are already over-sexed and stuff. I mean, we have Instagram now, so it's like you don't need to read a comic book to get flooded with sexual content anymore.
Guys, hold on just a sec. Cartoons found it out. If you fans send back 5,000 cards to the mail, back with the assignment on the back, I will jump naked in the next comic book. That was the bet. So, yeah, there you go. So all right, let's move.
5,000 people that read that and sent in their cards.
Let's move on to the next one here. Amazing Spider-Man 422 by Tom DeFalco and Joe Bennett. Exposed wiring focuses on Max Dillon, also known as Electro, who is about to die in an electric chair. That don't make one lick of sense to me.
Yeah, right.
The story available in Amazing Spider-Man 422 follows his last moments and the way his life flashes before his eyes. The cover depicts the actual execution with Max crying in fear and pain. It says, although this cover isn't as explicit as it could be, it's still quite graphic, especially since society now considers the electric chair an obsolete and inhuman method of execution. When did this happen?
About the Spider-Man guy, I have no idea.
I'm still stuck on the whole trying to electrocute the guy who feeds off electricity to death.
Yeah, who has electricity zooming through his body. But yeah, I never knew that the electric chair became an obsolete and inhumane method of execution.
Yes.
I mean, everyone does lethal injection now. That's the standard execution method. Electric chair, I mean, according to the description, it is a really sucky way to die and stuff. Like,
while we're here, can we just talk about lethal injection for a second? Because
No.
there have been cases where the person survives the lethal injection long enough to tell about what the lethal injection is like. In no way is lethal injection more humane than the electric chair. It literally paralyzes you and then boils your organs from the inside out, according to the people who describe the
you're
sensation
supposed to be
of
put
it.
to sleep before that happens. But anyway, this comic's depiction of capital punishment, and I think that's where it is. The writer is against capital punishment, and that's what's going on. I say if you can't play well with others, you have to be removed from the sandbox. All right, so Alf 48. You know what? Straight up, I'm going to say,
okay, this
did not age poorly. This didn't even start off as a good comic. Now, if you look what's happening, the tail is actually behind Alf. Alf is not entering anything here. But I would point out that more people are concerned with that frightened seal that's being grabbed and maybe raped by an alien than whatever the Alf is doing to that little baby in the freaking Indicia box or whatever you call it, whatever. He is Michael Jacksoning that thing right off of the freaking cover. Nobody gives a shit because the look on that seal.
Okay, what's the rationale though? Why does this person think it's problematic?
Yes, okay. I want to read. I need to read the words. I need.
The justification is
find
important.
out why this is a problematic cover here. Let me close this.
It should be a simple one-word sentence. He's raping a seal.
He's raping a seal. Most Marvel fans have probably forgotten that the company once published a comic series based on Alf, but it definitely happened. The company might be hoping fans collectively forget, but it will remain intact if this cover is any indication of the content. The cover for Alf, drawn by Dave Minack and Michael Gallagher, makes a play on words involving the safety seal, a new product by showing Alf holding a seal, the animal. The seal is in obvious distress, and it's easy to wonder if something unsavory is happening there. Once again, the tail is under his arm. He's not the seal.
Or it's just uncomfortable from being held. I don't know what you guys are on. What the hell?
I mean, to be fair, in the age of the internet, people, like everyone on all sides, hates the mistreatment of animals and stuff. So if the animals are in distress, there are millions of people that want to wish death on people.
And that's fair enough. But he's not making the animal rights argument. He's making the Alf is about to rape somebody argument, and that. I'm confused.
It doesn't matter to these people.
You know what? As Eric is pointing out, by the way, do not do this to seals when donkeys are plenty. All right, kids. Next up, we have Patsy Walter. Let me try to read here, guys. Patsy Walker, number 105 by Stan Lee, Al Hartley, and Sam Rosen. Can you guess what this one's going to be about?
Yes. Edith's going to be all over this one if they weren't the last one.
Yeah, this one is just like, come on, guys, just hush about this. I'm surprised. It was a different era when
worse than the She-Hulk one.
I know this one should be way low. Actually, it was a different era when her first fur coat could be the. Now, if they were like talking about her nethers or something, okay, I could see it being bothersome. Could be the premise for an entire comic book as it was in Patsy Walker 105. Patsy's affection for animal-based outerwear has not aged well over time, as attitudes toward fur have changed drastically over the years. Although artist Al Hartley had no way to know that fur would fall out of fashion, his condescending attitude towards teenage girls has arguably aged even worse than fur, proclaiming that the most exciting day in the life of any teenager is the day they get their first fur. Oh my Lord!
So wait, animals get
first
butchered and turned into clothing. Women most affected. Is that where we're going with this?
I'm sorry.
Day in the life of teenage girls, like when she becomes an Instagram model and stuff.
Yeah. Nowadays, she opens her own. But I swear to gosh, this sounds like he was low key talking about pubic hair. Yeah, I swear to gosh, that's what I'm reading here. Maybe this says too much about me, but that's what I'm hearing here.
But yeah, animal gets butchered and turned into a coat. Women most affected. Wah.
Patsy herself says she'd rather die than remove her new, by the way, fur coat. Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, I feel like like this comic book came out in the late 80s or something like that.
No, it would be in the 60s.
Earlier,
yeah, it would be in the 60s.
That was still several years after 1-to-1 Dalmatian, so this guy should have known the dangers of using animal fur. No excuses.
Well, you know what? I'm not somebody
Furs
who's
have
like
been
that.
kind of morally ambiguous for a long time, so it's not like this is new.
I know, I'm just making
never had a problem with it. I mean, if you're walking down the street and you just hammer a dog, skin it, and then put it on, okay, I get it. But look, there's some animals who are cultivated for it. There are some animals whose meat are used, and then they use the rest of it, and sometimes it's fur. I just, you know, it's like turning cow's hide into leather belts. Look, we're using the meat. Use the rest of it too. So this animal didn't die for nothing.
Yeah,
so everything goes.
Yeah, I think it's I think what they're doing is like they're kind of like they're PETA baiting and stuff, because you know, like these people like to like try to appeal as many people who have grievances against, like, you know, any sort of quote unquote like, you know, traditional aspect of, like, you know, of culture and stuff.
Well, but that's the thing. In this case, they're not explicitly doing PETA baiting, because they took a hard left turn into women most affected territory, and that's where I'm confused. Like, I would have more sympathy for this argument if it was a animal rights, you know, fur industry bad kind of argument. I think it would still be wrong for some of the reasons that Englentine just outlined to some degree. In my opinion, I think it depends on how you kill the animal that you then turn into the coat. But like, if this were just a generic, you know, animal rights sort of thing, I would have more sympathy for it if it weren't for that whole, oh, by the way, and women are most affected thing at the end there. It's like, okay, you clearly don't have your priorities in order if you think...
I think it was, I read that as them trying to do it both ways. They want to slip it in. It's kind of like how, like, you know, when someone brings up a women's issue, they will suddenly bring up race too.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
okay. Let me move this along a little bit. First, Cartoons Comics saying animal fur wonder why people are so stupid. These people, I have 2 fur from my grandmother, leopard and deer, and still good for use 102 years later. And then Jay says anti-fur movement went hard in the 80s, and that explains all the shaved pubes in the 90s. All right, let's move on. Yes, I got the last joke. Ecstatics number 15. You know, it's Princess Diana on the cover. I'm starting to see a little bit there. X-Force 116 marks Ecstatics debut, a new mutant super team created to replace X-Force. Okay, we got that. Let's see. The team was never successful. We know that. But fans remember the team for cover of Ecstatics 15, which features Princess Diana reborn as a superhero.
I'm sorry, we already have a Princess Diana who is a superhero. Her name is Wonder Woman. Deal with it.
Yeah, but here's the big problem. Since Marvel released the cover 6 years after Princess Diana's death, it was quite controversial at the time. In fact, the new superhero,
I would say it's a little tasteless right there. Yeah, I would say
just a smidge.
I mean, it was agree with that one.
I feel like also in the 90s, her death was a huge thing and stuff. People were still talking about it, so yeah.
I think if they had waited, this would have been an interesting, like, if they turned other historical figures into superheroes as well. Yeah. This wouldn't have been so bad, but because it was right during Die Mania.
It depends on the historical figure and stuff.
Yeah, like if this was done today, probably wouldn't be that big of a deal.
No, I can see why this one, but here's the thing. It says didn't age well. I don't think this cover even started off as anything good. Hey, RDB,
it was controversial to begin with, I think.
Yeah.
I also feel like this was another example of like 90s Marvel basically trying to like do all those cover gimmicks to play games and stuff. So
well, the 90s were edgy, period. That's just how the 90s were. Like,
so the main thing was part of them killing themselves. So it didn't age. It wasn't good at all. Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one, and we have Heroes for Hire number 13. Let me pop that up. We have.
Just let me say hi since I didn't get a chance.
Oh, hi, RDB.
I was kind of steamrolled over there.
What's up?
Back it up and run them over again.
All right, you're hosted by yourself tomorrow, then, Zach.
Okay, so it looks like we've got Misty Knight, Black Cat, and Black Widow strung up. Their boobs are basically hanging out. They all have that anime look. I see bats in the corner.
Who's writing it? That's more triggering to me. Is that Wills?
Let's see.
Yeah,
It is Zeb Wells, Clayman. Oh, at least it was drawn well.
I think this was when Zeb Wells was at least a competent writer, though, because I remember this series.
Okay. It says heroes in the state apparel are common on the covers of comic books. This cover for Heroes for Hire takes that concept to a new level. Black Cat, Colleen Wing. That's Colleen Wing?
That's Colleen, yeah.
And an unrecognizable Misty Knight. Now I recognized her right away as Misty Knight. Okay.
Who else is it going to be?
Are bound on this cover, barely covered by their costumes, while glistening, dripping tentacles hover near their chest. Yeah, I guess there's a bit of a hentai, however you say it, thing going on.
Well, that's when Marvel realized they need to compete with manga.
Second verse, same as the first. Sexuality is a power. Deal with it.
Yeah. Marvel published the cover created by artist Sana Takeda, whatever, of monstrous fame in 2006. Its overt sexualization of the three heroines in reference to hentai comics have aged poorly in a relatively short amount of time. Ladies and gentlemen, did that age poorly? I don't think
No.
No.
Sexuality is a power. Once you get rid of the people are victimized by their sexuality BS, this is entirely non-problematic.
Sexuality aside, especially nowadays where manga is beating comics like 5-1, like
hand over fist,
it makes it more relevant.
But is manga aimed towards just guys, or is there girl stuff too?
There's girl stuff too.
There's a lot of girl stuff, yeah.
I know a lot of.
I mean, I will say,
read shonen manga.
Comics have always been aimed towards men, though. That's the thing.
You don't think lesbians
there were some girl
wouldn't
comics
go
back
that
in the
far.
day.
I think comics, just like manga, are for everyone.
Yeah.
Just like it, just like in Japan,
comics.
most people, men and women, like shonen because it's basically the Japanese equivalent of like comics.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say technically girls like shoujo. In Japan, most girls read shoujo. That's their type of comics, whereas the demographic for shonen is mainly, like teen boys and stuff.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese like to categorize their comics for specific age groups and like genders.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't prevent the non-target audience from reading it, though. Just like it didn't.
No, it's just
any girls who like Western comics. And so forth.
It's just the marketing. It's like kind of how it's been set up. Like there are specific like rules that shonen has for how you make like a manga and stuff. Yeah.
So that's why I look at this. Like I said, these covers are aimed towards guys because guys were the predominant readers. There was a few books for females. But
books for females were kind of like, they're kind of a little more obscure, but especially in the 50s, there used to be a lot of romance comics and stuff that were kind of made for girls.
Well, even the Patsy Walker book there was a few minutes ago. Like that was one that was aimed more, like the romance comics.
Dalton's point, you had
the romance comics are aimed at girls and Eric.
But I will say, like, just to clarify, like there's nothing wrong with like a sexual cover, but like, not every comic book also has to be super sexual either and stuff, because there are some successful comics that don't rely upon those things and stuff too. It's just, whatever the flavor and taste is.
No, but like, but this isn't saying every cover needs to be this. We're just saying like, it's fine, leave it alone. It's not immoral because reasons.
So here's the comment section on this particular one. Eric and Boyd saying, I just don't like that cover art very well, not the content. Heroes for Hire. Undead Quinn is calling it the hentai cover for hire. I get it, says Cartoon Comics.
It's really, very hentai-ish, which isn't my taste at all.
The tentacle cover, says Undead Quinn. That did not age poorly, says Ahsoka. Manga is for everybody, or manga as you guys say it. Manga is aimed towards everyone. There's different subgenres of it. And Cartoon says manga is selling so much, they became a public force bigger than Japanese culture itself.
So here's what I thought. Here's how they would probably change it today, this cover. They'd have all three of them sitting at a diner drinking coffee.
Okay. Yeah, well, it'd be Sex in the City super heroine edition.
I'll show my favorite cover. My favorite comment about this cover, and then we'll move on to number 7. And this is from Dave Sonowitz, who says these covers didn't age well because they didn't have the go-go checks. So there you go. Best.
I'm saying the box with the floating heads.
Right,
I was going to say the cover is fine if you just like make them like 30 or 50 pounds heavier and stuff.
Right. Let's go on to number 7, which is
you want
thumbnail to this.
Don't you?
This is the thumbnail to this video, and I do know why they said this, because I remember the controversy. I think I may have even made a video of it. She's too sexy.
It's
Wait, so like they're already going after an older. This cover's not even that old. Going after re-release.
The social justice icon we
that's pretty
created is now sinful according to our standards.
I mean,
she's okay. Yeah, let me get that out there again. She is a 15-year-old girl, and they find this cover way too sexy. And once again, I'm going to point out that says a hell of a lot more about the writer than anybody else. I never 100%. Looked at this and thought it was sexy. I never thought they were over sexualizing a 15-year-old character here or 15-year-old girl. High school, it is just her with her hips out and a mid shirt going RDV.
I'm just saying,
this thing's also. Oh,
RDV has the floor right here.
They've never seen. Apparently, they don't have kids or never been in a school system where they actually see how girls dress.
Or maybe they're kept away from schools.
Not all girls dress like this in public schools, but there are the occasional few. But that being said, I'm not looking at it as being sexy. The only thing I would personally have a problem as an adult is how low the pants line is. Because
what were you going to say, Black Knight?
Well, yeah, this just kind of goes back similar because there were a lot of arguments in like with recent like manga issues where people were talking about certain characters and like sexual like positions and stuff because like some of the characters like say in shonen are like 14 and 15 years old, so people were like kind of like whoa, step back a moment,
Now, Ahsoka is bringing up that ain't sexualized. This ain't cuties. I will bet you money that this person defended cuties. You remember how it became a conservative versus leftist thing, whether or not you liked cuties?
I remember
for a while. That was ridiculous. Let's see.
I don't see anything
really
sexual
looks like an
here. I
actual
see
woman
this as
boys
her
would
expressing
want
her
to at
confidence.
least see in a bikini. Yam Sensei is saying if it's by J. Scott Campbell, people will hate it, period.
Here's how you fix this. You just put a flannel t-shirt on her waist.
There's always people that are going to hate J. Scott Campbell's work because all they think is that he just draws objectified women. Even though there's always women in his comments that say they love his work. There's always some male feminist or woman that won't look as good as the model he's drawing that's going to get upset.
They need to go
Venkman, you were next.
I was going to say, they need to go watch any teen high school movie from the 90s, 80s.
Yeah.
Women, the only thing missing is that she doesn't have a flannel shirt tied around her waist.
Oh, are you on Facebook?
What's Facebook?
Okay. Well, if you're ever on Facebook, you will get bombarded. Well, I'm saying if you're on Facebook, you will get bombarded with these ads for lists on like how all these different TV shows from the 90s and 80s aged poorly, and it's all talking about the sexism of these old sitcoms and stuff.
And even something specifically targeted to women, like as much as it was the bane of the internet for the longest time, as well it deserved to be. Anyone remember Twilight? I guarantee you that the majority of the audience for Twilight was like 14 through 17 girls and their mothers, like their middle-aged mothers.
To be fair, the people being sexualized were more the men and stuff, whereas the girls did not dress as skimpily as the guys did. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that movie is basically how people of a high school, female demographic see each other, and Bella notwithstanding, a lot of the like cheerleader girls and that one friend of hers who was like the popular girl dressed pretty much like this, and nobody cared because we all knew it was the target audience was said teenage girls.
You mean like
it's getting to the point where if you reflect the way people actually behave, people actually live, someone somewhere will claim that's immoral.
All right, give the last comment to Venk, and then we're moving on to the next one. What were you going to say?
Like I said, they'd probably still be upset if you say they get rid of this. They're like, oh yeah, they're not giving her sex anymore, so we'll put her in jeans and a flannel t-shirt and a tank top, and that's it. Not even a tank top. They wanted to basically look at the girls from Step by Step, how they dressed.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to number 6, which is Marvel number 6 by Bill Jimenez or whatever his name was, Mark Bright, Rodney Ramos. You know what?
Transparency Digital?
That's Greg Horn or Greg Land. Whatever his name is. Greg Land. That's him with the photorealism.
This wasn't a normal cover, or was this a special cover?
This was normal. Marvel has got a bad reputation as being a suck book from beginning to end. And it had a whole bunch of covers like this.
The covers are not the bad part of Marvel.
I know
The
writing
content is the
horrible.
bad part of Marvel.
Okay, so look, as a guy, I have nothing wrong with this. It's supposed to be Mary Jane, I think.
I would assume so.
It's supposed to be Mary Jane who's married to Peter Parker.
Yeah.
What they hate.
I wonder what the point of the cover is. I can see why it's a bad cover, but it didn't age well. It's still it's a good image. It's a sexy image if that's what you're going for.
yeah,
Was she was she married to Peter at the time of this cover and stuff?
This isn't in universe though. This is a parody comic.
I know. I was just gonna make a joke saying, now we know who's the simp in a relationship and stuff.
Well, I'm just.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Peter has always simped for MJ.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay, so let's see what they. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna see what they said about it. Marvel was let me read this off. Was widely panned by critics as one of the worst Marvel comic book series of all time. Yes, it was. The company launched the series as a satire of superhero books during the Marvel marketing promotion and involved a convoluted plot concerning time travel. The series also employed incredibly sexualized image of women on many of its covers. The cover of Marvel #6, created by Greg Horn, portrayed an almost naked Mary Jane Watson swinging on a rope made from Spider-Man's webs. Looking uncharacteristically vacant, the sexually charged images failed to draw in readers and the series was canceled. I would also say she's looking uncharacteristically 16.
Yeah, that does look a little bit young.
Of all the problems you could have with Marvel, like the fact that issue 3 doesn't even have caption boxes or bubbles of any kind, you're picking the covers. Really. Of all the things that Marvel did horribly, horrendously wrong, we're making an entire thing of the covers. Okay, that's
like I said, just add 50 pounds and no one's complaining. None of these people are complaining anymore.
Well, that web
I will say, I do remember there's a bit of a history where Jimenez or Jimenez or Yemez, whatever his name is, Jimenez, I don't know. He made a bet with somebody,
but it might be Hamas.
He made a bet with somebody that this book would sell more. So I have a feeling you got these classless covers. So it would hopefully boost sales and prove him.
He was playing the cheesecake card a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I respect. I respect the cheesecake card, but make the face look a little bit older next time.
Yeah, it's not even that it's sexual. It's that much like everything else in Marvel, it's a cheap imitation of anything it's trying to actually do.
So I got two things here. We could argue that she looks young, but I've also seen 20-year-olds that look like they're 16. The other thing,
I've been in Thailand. I've seen a hell of a lot of them.
I also want to point out is that we're offended by this cover, but if Britney Spears and Pink do this, and Moulin Rouge or any of those burlesque shows that you do at the concerts, that's fine.
Yeah, remember Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball and how everyone lauded it as this incredibly edgy progressive thing?
I didn't.
What was it? The other one who just did the whole thing about talking about her snatch, the song about my
Cardi B.
Cardi B.
Yes, Cardi B.
Nice.
WAP.
She does a strip job, basic dance in her video.
But she's also like 100 pounds overweight. So it's
Eric and Boyd is saying that she looks like a young Mandy Summers, whoever that is.
Oh no! Why would you say that? No!
Alrighty. Let's move on to cover number 5, which is Fantastic Four number 375.
Hey, I have this one. This is a great cover.
Like what?
Okay, so my guess is Invisible Woman's outfit. Maybe the fact that all of them are holding guns.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be the gun thing.
Okay, let's.
This is also, I think, where she gets the boob window that's shaped like
the four boob window. Many comics covers age poorly due to changing social values, and some simply reflect an aesthetic that has fallen out of favor. The cover for Fantastic Four 375, drawn by Paul Ryan, the Senator. A lot of comic book trends from the early 90s, which relied on gimmicks. For a time in the 90s comic shop, shelves were full of covers using foil or holograms to make them look valuable and collectible. Fantastic Four 375 added enormous shoulder pads, random military jackets, and absurdly large guns that were also in style. So basically what they're saying is this fell out of style because it's the most 90s cover you could possibly 90s.
Okay, now this segment I actually have some respect for, because to the best of my knowledge, they're not making a moral argument, which I'm totally in favor of. Enough with the my morality is sacrosanct and needs to be the thing around which all society revolves BS. So as long as they're not making a moral argument, I say this is the most valid case in the entire article, because they're not going, oh, you have offended my moral sensibilities, herder.
It's so funny because they're like, this is non-consensual or this is too sexualized, and then with this cover it's just like, it's too 90s, guys.
It's just bad.
The only thing that would make this more 90s if it said the extreme rise of doom.
Right.
No, I can do you one better. The only thing that would make this more 90s is if it was drawn by Rob Liefeld.
Hey, by the way, maybe it was supposed to be a parody, because look, there are no feet.
I would love
this could possibly be a parody cover that has not really. I mean, you've got the feet on Human Torch and the Skrull, but there are no other feet. Everything's been hidden by a rock. All of them have shoulder pads and pouches. I'm telling you, you know what? This aged perfectly, because now it's a parody cover. I'm thinking
it's a time capsule of the 90s in the most 90s way possible.
Four in the 90s is pretty slapping, y'all. I mean, don't sleep on Fantastic Four from the 90s.
So the thing is wearing the mask, the helmet, is because he got badly scarred. So he wanted to hide his face, which was, to me, was like this excuse to put him on a Magneto helmet on him, or Guardian.
There you go, yeah.
But I'm more offended about the Red Hat has that ugly costume.
Let's see what number 4 gives us. Iron Man 120. What the hell's wrong with this?
Because it promotes drugs.
No, it doesn't. It's like it's the most anti.
I know, but I'm just saying that's their thinking. They see any drugs, it's promoting drugs, because
they're just the new moral Puritans. They're just pointing things in the opposite direction. It's ridiculous. Ooh, my drugs.
Isn't this the alcohol book?
This is one of the most iconic and awesome covers of all time. We've got to read this.
I bet you MARANYA exploding in the comments.
It looks like a whole book.
Demon in a Bottle on Iron Man number 128 depicts Tony Stark's struggle with alcoholism. The art follows Iron Man as he faces several mistakes due to his addiction, and he tries to make amends. The story ends with Tony deciding to stay clean with Bethany Cabe's help. Yeah, that aged horribly, dumbasses. Although Iron Man 128 ends on a hopeful note, its cover is very dark. Tony Stark seems to have hit rock bottom, looking sweaty, confused, and shocked in front of the bottle. Thanks to the MCU and the comics, Iron Man is incredibly popular with Marvel fans. It's difficult to die.
We have gone full freaking circle with these people. It used to be the Helen Lovejoy's pearl clutching and going, won't somebody please think of the children? It is now the social justice wankers going, won't somebody please think of the children and how dark this is, and oh, my prudish feelings are hurt, and so on. We have gone full freaking circle, and I hate it.
But
to be fair, I will say,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, to be fair, these storylines did kind of also inspire a lot of these injection of modern politics and issues into a lot of comic books later on. So,
but it was done well, and it was a good story, and it made sense in universe, which is why it's better.
Okay, here's the problem. Here's the big thing with this. I'll pass this on just a touch, but here's something that this guy is just full on retard about. All, or at least 90% of comic book covers puts the hero in some sort of danger. In this case, it's in danger of losing himself because to alcohol. The whole thing is we see the hero in danger, or the protagonist or whatever in danger, and we go, wow, how is he going to get out of this one? And then we read the book. What the hell is this guy expecting here? This isn't just a misunderstanding of one comic book cover. This is a misunderstanding of comic books as a whole.
Well, it's something that even the old pulp serials understood. Everything began and ended with, will our hero triumph over X, Y, and Z traumatic experience or villain or whoever. Like this is something that has been central to the genre since before the genre was even a thing. What the hell?
Oh, don't give them any ideas about pulp covers. They'll have a field day with that.
I wish Maranya
they
was
already
on
have,
today.
trust me.
I wish Maranya was on today just so I could put in she's about to bomb Pearl Harbor.
She's in the comments. She's in the comments.
I
so
highlighted her
she's probably going to explode in
censored.
3, 2, 1.
I have two things to say about this. One, it is dark because he's drinking Canadian whiskey. 2,
right.
Well, why do we care about a privileged white male? No.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. So let's move on to number
Don't make
3.
it worse, Venkman. You know that someone somewhere is going to make that a thing now.
Okay, now we're moving on to number 3, and we have Amazing Spider-Man number 601. All righty.
Oh, I have the cover. It's worth money too.
Do you have the comic book that's
another J. Scott Campbell cover?
Yeah.
They hate J. Scott Campbell, man. I'm telling you.
No, and like I said, they hate just the idea of Mary Jane being in love with Peter Parker and staying home and cooking and cleaning.
No, I mean, that might be part of it, but it's mainly they hate J. Scott Campbell because they think he objectifies women with his art style.
You know what? I had actually had a conversation with someone at MegaCon, and it was a young lady, and she explained why this was overtly sexual.
See, I'm already.
She's sitting there in a position that nobody really naturally sits, and her arms are in such a way that they're pushing the boobs up. It would be the same as if we placed our balls between our legs and squeezed. He said that is a way uncomfortable position to be sitting in.
Yeah, I've seen cosplayers do it though, and not complain. You
But
gotta be flexible.
Yeah, but
okay, now here's the thing. Cosplayers are out there and they're purposefully doing it. This is supposedly somebody who is sitting on a couch. I don't think she's supposed to be relaxed though. I think she's supposed to be tense.
I don't know. I can't really think it's generalized say that no women sit like this. Who knows? Maybe there are two people.
Why do we care how realistic her sitting pose is?
I know, who cares?
It's a book about people who get bit by spiders and get superpowers.
Well, okay, but even then, looking at it in terms like a human logic thing, women like to be sexy because it empowers them, because sexuality is a power. You absolute morons. Women enjoy the power they gain from being sexy. That's why they choose to be sexy when they can.
Except that some women can't be sexy,
or they're upset because she's wearing a low-cut shirt that it supports her man.
No, I don't think that's it.
Okay, so this is what we're getting in the comment section. Spiffy is saying Gwen Stacy is a better love interest than Mary Jane. Disagree.
I completely agree, Spiffy.
This cover set
Redheads are always better.
Entire wild back and forth on Twitter and Facebook with JSC going off on people. The left hates hot redheads, says Dick Sargent York. We have seen nothing to argue his position on this.
Yeah, no, there's some ginger side things going on here, maybe.
The cover is Dust Money, says Undead Quinn. Maranya saying Disney were a bunch of wusses. They refused to actually portray the demon in a bottle storyline because it's not family friendly. Hence, we got that stupid ass Iron Man 3, which deserves to die. Just the movie, not the people in it.
Well, technically, there's a hint at his alcoholism. It's just not the act. It's not the full complete story, but he has had some issues drinking. There's hints at it. Yeah.
I mean, they basically swapped alcoholism for PTSD, which I didn't I agree with you that it was completely prudish to not go there if you're going there, but I didn't hate it because they still gave him PTSD, which is still basic.
Yam Sensei is saying people also recreated this cover and pose in multiple photo shoots. We've got I still like this from Ahsoka. I've seen this MJ cosplay from Undead Quinn. I have cosplayed this exact scene, says Ahsoka.
Ahsoka says she sits like this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Maybe and Noe's right. Look at all the redhead characters across media being replaced. Oh yeah. We all know about the ginger side. All right. Let's find out what the runner-up cover is. And number 2, we have Spider-Woman. Oh yeah. We've all.
I know what number 1's going to be. I know what number 1's going to be.
Yeah. It's probably going to be. It's probably going to be Avengers 200.
Well, let's not jump ahead. We have Spider-Woman. We know that over here her ass is sticking up in the air. We've seen it. We've heard the arguments. I don't see any of these covers so far. Well, as far as the sexualized ones, but I'm not being sexualized, I guess.
Yeah, and these covers are kind of weak. Barrison, I'm surprised it wasn't all 10 covers of Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers swimsuit. And they're going ree about it.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of Ms. Marvel from the 2000s.
Yeah,
they would probably have a problem with as far as sexuality. I think that the cover's fine. Look, we've gotten sexualized covers of both men and women throughout the years. Usually, it's the women that are being brought up. And we hear, well, the bodies are unattainable, the poses are unattainable, and yet, as it's been pointed out in the chat about the Mary Jane, I have seen people doing these poses, and I've seen people with bodies like superheroes.
Yeah, there's a reason why we have a point of reference for these body types, because the highest percentile of human beings can actually pull this off. And I just want to point out that Spider-Woman is in the exact same position as Spider-Man usually is when he wall crawls. The only thing different is she has slightly more feminine body language, which she should freaking have because she is a woman.
Well, for now.
This is the whole DC argument where people get all up in a tizzy because Starfire is wearing a bikini, but they don't have any problem when it comes to Nightwing's caboose. They'll stare at that all day.
Or Namor in a Speedo for Marvel, or insert literally anything ever.
Exactly. Zach, is it just me, or does she have Liv Tyler face? Big old lips.
That is kind of ugly. Her face is kind of ugly to me.
All right, let's go down and let's find out what they say. The number one most poorly aged comic book, or as I say, the number one comic book that
Mary
would
Jane
just
doing
drive
laundry.
a woke person crazy. It is Young Allies number 8. Okay, there may be a reason for this.
Really? Yeah, I was expecting Avengers 200. They hate Avengers 200 so much.
It's because of the racial characters of the kids. You know, they have some of the kids are different races.
This guy is named White. The black guy is named Whitewash.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So away, let's just get that out there.
Also the Japanese stuff. Yeah, because
they are ridiculously yellow. This guy also, by the way, with the teeth and such, has traits that a lot of racists would put to what they would now put to black people.
So,
he looks more animalistic.
To be fair, though, when this was made during World War II, when the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor, so there was a lot of harsh feelings towards it.
And we talked about that earlier with the Captain America cover. But the big problem. I mean,
they also made the Germans look inhuman as well and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But the big problem is, in my opinion, whitewash. But if you're going in this direction, I don't think Young Allies is where you need to go. I am a huge Will Eisner fan. I love the spirit, but there's a character, and he's on a lot of the covers. He's one of the smartest characters in the book, but since he's black, he is drawn in a way it's like, ooh.
Very stereotypically.
Zach, why is your character there that you read every night there? I don't make sense.
Say again?
Zach's character that he reads on Fantasy Four is always there.
Let me see if I
also, wait, aren't the Young Allies a superhero team?
They're a group of kids that basically sometimes team up with Toro and Bucky and stuff to fight the Axis. Yeah.
So right, okay. So they are being portrayed as the heroes. However stereotypically, however, archetypically, whatever, they are being portrayed as heroes.
Yeah, but it still doesn't.
I don't see the problem.
It's kind of like
some of the character designs.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this book, but just looking at it, all I'd get from it is they made fun of Japanese back then.
Skip, I'm like you, man. I ain't touching this.
I don't even know there's a black hero on the cover. I don't even know his name's Whitewash. Like I said, once of that might be a little offensive, but like the first thing anyone is going to see is, they basically are making fun of Japanese.
But even then, like I said when we were discussing the Captain America thing, usually, even in these like propaganda comics, usually you would have the villain be the quote unquote racist caricature, but you would also have other Japanese people or other German people or other people of the same ethnicity who were just people trying to deal with, you know, things, or who were the victims of the villains going, why do my people have to be persuaded by this guy, or something to that effect. So even in the worst, again, it didn't happen all the time, but in a sizable plurality of these World War II propaganda comics, they made the point to differentiate between the character who was supposed to be the archetypical villain and the race of the villain just being people. So
okay,
even
I'm
then,
going to show you. This
Go
is
ahead.
a cover that if you were wanting to talk about the racial stereotypes and so forth, once again, I think Will Eisner was a great writer, brilliant writer and artist, especially for the Golden Age. He showed people what could be done with the medium. That being said, you got to take it into historical context. That's something Maranya's been saying. It's people need to take these covers in the context of hold on. I can't get back up there, but the point being is there. So let me show you. If you want to really, this is Ebony from the Spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the 1940s in comics. Look, I could probably do a huge freaking video about how Black people have been portrayed. And it's, look, it didn't start out good. It really didn't. But I will say this. There was a comic. It's called All Negro Comics. And it is the first comic book published and owned by Black people. And I don't know if it's the art of the time. I don't know if it's the, was it something with the printing and it had to look like that? But even when it was put in the hands of Black people, you got this. So, I mean, if I showed you this and I didn't tell you beforehand that this was a Black published, Black created comic book, you would think this was also just one more racist book that was out there.
But this actually